today is the day for your third chapter of the first flight, and it says 2 stories about flying. So this story has 2 parts in it, right? They both are based on flying. So your part 1 is his first flight. You wonder who the his is? A boy, a man? Well, we'll watch by Liam O'Flaherty. Now, this story is really beautiful. Why? Because he is taking his first flight. I don't want to reveal it right away. We shall know as we move on. So before that, let's know about the author. Liam O'Flaherty was an Irish novelist and short story writer. He was born in a remote village of Gortnack Capal in Galway. Now, Galway is a city, you know, it is a city in the Republic of Ireland, yeah? In 1908, he went to Rockwell College. He became a popular literary figure with his best-selling novel, The Informer. The next novel, Return of the Brute, was also a great success. O'Flaherty will be remembered as a major voice in the Irish literary renaissance. So that's about the author. Now coming back to the wonderful story that he has given us, the first flight. So his first flight, now here you have the plot and all open before you, is a story of hesitation. Now hesitation is something, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I, you know, that way. Trial and error, and finally getting success in the end. It is an interesting story of a hesitant and timid seagull. This story is based on the first flight of the seagull learning the art of flying. They don't just start flying. There is a time when their wings are strong enough to carry their body and fly. But for the same, even they need confidence. Yes, so this particular seagull did not have the confidence. Now, if I talk about, you know, it's like he says hesitation, trial and error. Now, the first flight, can we talk about your first approach, your first move? Yes, you, when you are planning, now you are in 10th and soon you'll be able to, you know, most of you even do it. You'll learn to drive car. So, you know, it's a little hesitation, you know, till you sit there, you know, hold the steering and, you know, put the car on gear and, you know, start. There is a lot of hesitation, that first move, you know, that first approach, that first move. Likewise, there are so many things when you bake the first cake or anything. There are so many first approaches to so many things. So that time you see how you feel. Until and unless you're really sure about something, you're confident, then it's a different story. But or else, you know, you will have a little hesitation. So while his 2 brothers and sister had already learnt flying, we are talking about the seagull. So his 2 brothers and sister, they had already learnt flying. His fear and hesitation stopped him from doing so. This factor, fear, you know, the fear factor, it actually puts us into a lot of trouble sometimes. Most of the times, I feel. His diving at the fish due to hunger proved a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise means what? A blessing in disguise means something bad happened, but eventually out of it, there were very unexpected benefits. That's called a blessing in disguise. Yeah, quite a few times you must have faced the same. A very normal, a very regular example is, you know, when someone has taken a ticket traveling by flight to some place, and for some reason he had to cancel, you know, his ticket. He couldn't travel at the last minute. He missed the flight. He missed the flight, so he couldn't board that flight, and coincidentally that flight met with an accident. I mean, you know, it crash landed. That's a blessing in disguise. So he not going, that was a misfortune that happened where he could not travel. He missed the flight, but eventually he benefited. If he would have been in that same plane, maybe he wouldn't have been there any longer. So these are the ways, you know, we call it a blessing in disguise. Good to use. After a shaky start, he spread out his wings and started flying upwards and downwards after a shaky start. It was his first flight. The author gives a message that no one attains success instantly. Repeated trials and errors lead him to success. Do we attain success instantly? Same minute, same time? No. Quite a few times, quite a few things we have to keep trying. You know, the trial and error method, if we have the time. Yes? So we have to keep trying and then eventually attain success. Make sure that we are through. So let's see, the story is really beautiful, very motivating, and it really shows that we can also do the same. So let's go. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. What is a ledge? It is a narrow horizontal shelf projecting from a wall or a cliff. You know, a small shelf type of thing on a wall. So it was there. Yeah. On his ledge, his two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. One day before that, they had flown away. He had been afraid to fly with them. He did not have the guts. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge as in right at the corner, the edge of the ledge, right at the corner, that's brink is at the corner, the border. So, he had taken a little run towards that and attempted to flap his wings. He tried to flap his wings. He became afraid. He got scared. He says, if I don't fly, I'll fall. It was difficult. The great expanse of sea where he was, down there was a great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down. The cliff that he was and down, it was a long distance. He was high up there and he could see the entire sea. It was miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. He did not really trust his wings. He said, no, I don't think so much my wings will support me. I'll fall and die. So he bent his head and ran back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. There was a hole nearby in the cliff. He went and he slept. He says, not possible. I cannot fly. I will fall and die. So I'm not going to do it. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own. Now imagine his brothers and sister, their wings were shorter than his. His were way bigger. Ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away. They all managed to do it. They went to the edge, they flapped their wings, they started flying and they moved on. He failed to muster up courage to take that plunge which appeared to him so desperate. Now, he was afraid. He failed to gather the courage. He did not have that courage to do it. Yes, and take that plunge, as in take that jump. He so wanted, it was very desperate. He so wanted to do it. But somewhere, somehow he couldn't. He didn't have the, that great gut feeling to do it. His father and mother had come around calling to him shrilly. They came there, they were shrilly is a loud voice. They were literally, screaming in loud voice, upbraiding him like they were literally scolding him. They were shouting at him that, come on, you can do it, just move on in the front. Threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. They told him, fine, if that's what you're doing, you think you're not going to fly, we are not going to feed you. We are leaving you to starve. If you are hungry, you have to come and catch your own fish. We are not going to serve you here. So starve over there. Until and unless you don't fly out of that, you are not going to get your food. But for the life of him as in by any means, even though his life was at stake, by any means, he could not move. Even though he realized that, oh my God, I'm going to starve. I'm not going to get food to eat until and unless I don't go and get it myself. Still, he did not gather the courage to go, to fly. That was 24 hours ago. One day had passed, 24 hours. Since then, nobody had come near him. Remember, the parents had actually scolded him. They had told him, you starve, you stay alone, we are not going to bother about you. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. Where he was sitting, where he was sitting on that ledge, from there he could see his entire family, the parents, the brothers and the sister. He could see them flying, having a great time, enjoying themselves. And in fact, the parents were actually teaching them still to be perfect. So while you were flying, they were flying, the parents were still teaching them to, still be more perfect at it. And they were also teaching them how to skim. Skim as in to move lightly just above the surface. Now here it's the sea. So they were just, showing him how you can go you can just surface, just on the surface of the sea, you go and you move up. You can do that. That's how they were teaching them to skim. And how to dive for fish. You know how seagulls get their food, right? They dive, they take the fish and they move up. That's how they do it. So dive down. Yeah. He had in fact seen his older brother catch his first herring. What is a herring? It is a soft finned sea fish. That's a herring. Yeah. So he saw his older brother catch his first herring and devour it standing on a rock. Devour it as in eat hungrily or quickly. He was so happy on his first catch. He caught it and he started eating that quickly. Standing on a rock while his parents circled around raising a proud cackle. The brother actually got the fish, the first fish, and his proud parents were, circling him and with a proud cackle. What is that? Loud and harsh clucking or cry of a bird. So they were, sort of celebrating that, look, he made his now. He is independent. He can catch his own fish. And all the morning, the whole family had walked about on the big plateau, midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. The whole family, that whole day, what they did was, they walked about that big plateau. There was a big plateau opposite. Now, the cliff that he was, they were on the opposite side. Yeah. Midway down, the plateau was midway down the opposite cliff. And they were just, okay, you are nothing, you can just do nothing, taunting him with his cowardice. Cowardice as in, buzdil hona. He didn't have the courage. So that is how they were taunting him. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. Now, here, finally, there was a sunrise. It was ascending as in it was going up the sky, blazing, shining brightly on his ledge. There was full sunlight over there because that ledge, that hill, that place where he was, it was facing the south. He felt the heat. He could feel very hot because of those sun rays, because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. Now, he was hungry, no food to eat, so he had become a little weak. Obviously, when you don't eat, you grow weak, and because of that, he could feel more of the heat. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge. He again stepped till the corner, till the border, the edge of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Why was he doing? Why did he go and do that at the corner? You remember, they were on the opposite side. So if he would go inside, they could not see him. But if he went in the front and then, he was doing whatever he was trying to put himself, showing, pretending that he's sleeping, they could see him from there. Still, they took no notice of him. They did not bother. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. Now, they were dozing as in they were sleeping. He could see all three of them were having a great sleep. They were having a deep sleep. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. What is preening? Making an effort to maintain the feathers. He was preening his feathers. That's how they maintain themselves. So he was doing that to his feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. Well, that's the problem. It's a mother's heart. It's the mother who actually, wants I've always shared that mothers have unconditional love. Yes, and this is how it is. The mother was noticing, the others were busy in their own way, but it was the mother who was noticing him because it's her child. He's one amongst them. So obviously she wanted him also to be with them. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau. A little high hump, you know, how you have the camel's hump. So that way there was a hump on the plateau. Her white breast thrust forward. She was there. She was standing there. Now and again, she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. What was she doing? No, she was on that thing where he could see her clearly. And what was she doing? She was staring at a piece of fish. There was fish near her feet, you know, it lay at her feet. She was taking the fish, she was tearing the fish, and then what she was doing? Scraping each side of her beak on the rock. Why was she doing that? You know, scrape, you know, they just did that. Both sides of her beak, she was doing that. You know why they do that? They do that to sharpen the beak, so that they can, you know, take the flesh of the fish properly. They keep doing that to sharpen it, to make it more sharper. The sight of the food maddened him. Remember, he is hungry. He is very, very hungry. How he loved to tear food that way. See, she was doing exactly what he liked. Yeah, he loved to do that, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. To wet it as in to sharpen it. He loved doing that, and she was a mother. She knew smartly how to tackle him. All mothers know very smartly how to tackle their children, don't they? Your mothers do. If you have realized, if you have noticed and observed. So yes, so this smart mother, she was doing exactly what he loved to do. What happened next? Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. He wanted that food. He was so hungry. You know, in his language, he was like, please, I need that food. Ga, kola, she screamed back derisively. What do you mean by that? She also answered back. She reverted to him. How? In a manner showing someone that he is stupid. She says, are you mad? Just go. You know, those types. That's how she reverted back to him. But he kept calling plaintively. Plaintively as in sounding sad and mournful. Like, please, I want food, mom. Please, really hungry. And after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. Wow, he was happy for what? His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. That is why he was happy. Oh, she's coming. Finally, I'm going to get some food. He leaned out eagerly. He, looked like that. Oh, she's coming to me. Tapping the rock with his feet. He was so happy. Trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. As she came closer, he tried to go and, take the food. But when she was just opposite to him, she was just here, she halted. She stopped. Her wings motionless. She was not flapping. She was not flying. The piece of fish in her beak almost within the reach of his beak. Now her beak and this is his beak actually can just reach it. They are just that close. He waited a moment in surprise. He was like, what? That you're so close. Give me the fish. Wondering why she did not come nearer, and then maddened by hunger, he was so hungry and the food was just there in front of him. He dived at the fish. Remember, he's at the edge of the ledge. He's at the corner. The mother is here. She's not on the ledge. She's in the air, and he just plunged. He just dived at the fish. So he's off the ledge. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. He fell because he dived for the fish. The fish was here. He dived, and so he fell. He fell out and he fell down. Can you just imagine what next? I just hope you are visualizing this scene. It is so beautiful. Then a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. Terror means monstrous terror, that scared. So very scared. Monstrous terror seized him. He was like, I'm gone. That's the feeling you get when you are in a roller coaster. I got that. I remember when I was sitting on a roller coaster for the very first time, and oh my God, never again. So yeah, this monstrous terror had seized me when I was there. And his heart stood still. He was like, I'm gone. He could hear nothing. He didn't know what was happening. He had gone blank. But it only lasted a minute. This thing went on, but for a minute. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outwards. Now see, when you are in such a situation where you know you have a probable chance to save yourself, you will definitely give it a try. So this is what he did. When he realized that he's falling, he immediately spread his wings. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the air, the wind. It was, when you start flying, you can feel that gush. So it rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and then against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings. Now these are the tips, the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He could feel it. He was not falling headlong now. He was not going like this headlong. He was not going down. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. Soaring as in he was flying. He was easily flying gradually, slowly, downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Now it was his first flight. So obviously, you tend to feel a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Then he started flying upwards. He flapped his wings and he soared upwards. Gaga, Gaga they went on. Gaukola, his mother swooped past him. Zoop, she went past him. Her wings making a loud noise. She was so happy because finally he had overcome his fear and she made the smart move. It was because of her smart move that he did it. He answered her with another scream. Even he replied back, yes, I made it. Then his father flew over him screaming. The father also joined them. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him, curvetting and banking. What is curvetting? Leaping like a horse. They were literally leaping like a horse and banking, flying with one wing higher than the other. That's the style they do. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly. He forgot that it was me who was not able to fly and commended himself, entrusted something to someone. He just left himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. He was ready for it. He was all set. He was there. He was diving, soaring, he was curving, and he was screaming at the top of his voice. He was shrieking shrilly. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it. He was near the sea, facing straight out over the ocean. He was just there over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him. Right below him, he could see the vast green sea with little ridges moving over it, little hilltops moving over it. And he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. Amusedly as in it was all in a very entertaining manner. He was actually entertaining himself, enjoying himself. His parents and his brothers and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. What was the green flooring? It was the sea. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. Beckoning as in, when you tell someone, okay, do this, come here, you raise your finger, you tell someone to do this. This is when you do an action to somebody, that is you beckon. So they were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. They were calling, come, 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 we are here, you come, don't worry. They were doing that action. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. To stand on the green sea like as though it was something concrete. He wanted to stand there. His legs sank into it. He went deep. Obviously, it was water. How could he stand on that? He screamed with fright. He got scared, saying, "Oh my God, I'll die." And he attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. He said, "Oh no," and he tried to fly out of it again. But he was tired and weak. Remember, he had not eaten. He was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise, exhausted by the strange exercise. He had flown, he was going up, he was down, he had no food in the stomach, and so he was totally exhausted, very, very tired. His feet sank into the green sea, it went there, and then his belly touched it. You can see the belly also has touched the water, and he sank no further. That's it. Till there he went, and then he was floating. It did not happen any further. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scrapes of dogfish. Now you see, now they were all happy, they were rejoicing, they were celebrating. What were they celebrating? This particular seagull's first flight. He had made his first flight. So after they were celebrating, after he landed there, he started floating. Then he realized, oh, now nothing is going to happen to me. And the family started rejoicing. They were enjoying, they were celebrating his first flight. So eventually he attained success. But right from where the fear, it started from there, till the mother had to do something to bring him out of that fear. And finally, he realized that yes, I can do it. Children, this is the same thing that happens with us. We feel that we cannot do certain things. Make up your mind to act decidedly and take the consequences. Take your mind, make a decision, make a firm decision, and you know what are the consequences, what are going to be the results. No good is ever done in this world by hesitation. Stop hesitating. If you hesitate, you will never do any good. So beautifully put by Thomas Huxley. He says, if you want to do something great, if you want to do something good, you have to take the leap of faith. Yes, you have to take. Now this is what he did. He went for the fish and he did not realize, and then he just went down and he came up. But for that, he had to go down. He had to feel he is dying. Immediately he stood up, as in he started flapping his wings. Likewise, we have to take our plunge. We have to make sure that we know what is the consequence, right? Eventually, we will do something big. But for that, the leap of faith is a must. So never remain hesitant. Just, don't think, oh, should I, shouldn't I? If you think that thing is worth it, if you think you are going to benefit out of it, only then, yes, go for the plunge. Yes, do it and be really, really big. Wishing you all the luck. Yes, keep watching and keep learning.